out of that, some things began to come together, and the result of this life-giving conversation is producing what I've got to offer you today. So the focus of my remarks today is about the mission of Westminster Canterbury, from my perspective. And there are two aspects of it that I want to speak to. The first is the mission of Westminster Canterbury as an institution. And the second part of it is to address the way Westminster Canterbury has a mission to each one of us who live here. It's a personal mission. So that's what I want to talk about today. To give you some background, I mean, how did I come to this? I've been a Westminster Canterbury watcher for a long, long time, and so I want to say a word about my connection to Westminster Canterbury over the years. And my story began when I came to St. Paul's Church to be rector, St. Paul's downtown, back in March 1984. And one of the first things I found on my desk as I came into my new office was a request to write a letter of recommendation for somebody who was applying for the fellowship fund. And I was happy to do that, and that person came to Westminster Canterbury as a fellowship fund participant. So that began my relationship. There I am on the first day in the office, and I'm doing something for Westminster Canterbury, trying to help somebody navigate the Westminster Canterbury scene. Well, as a pastor at St. Paul's, I was in and out of Westminster Canterbury all the time because we had a significant number of parishioners who lived here, and because of the very close association of Westminster Canterbury with the Episcopal and Presbyterian churches, I was here and got involved in more of the different committees, and over the years participated in a number of them, and participated in the two main boards, all of that. So I saw Westminster Canterbury from the perspective of my own parishioners and helping them navigate this place and be fed and being a pastor to them. And I also saw it from the institutional perspective as well. Well, it came time for me to retire from St. Paul's, and that was about the same time that the courtyard apartments were coming online. And Lolly and I wrestled with where do we go? I mean, here I am retiring, and we made the decision that her health care, because at that point she had multiple sclerosis, that we wanted to, we decided to come here. And one of the things, it's always interesting, making the decision to move here is a really important one and a hard one. I mean, there are a lot of things you have to give up to come here. But one of the things that pushed us, because was this, that Lolly's twin sister had multiple sclerosis. And she was always behind the curve on her health care, always behind the curve. And so we said, hey, we're retiring. I'm leaving St. Paul's. We got to really figure out the next chapter. Let's stay ahead of the curve. And so we moved in the fall of, in September 10th, 2005. And we were among Liz Carter's Mad Hatters. We were the people who moved into the courtyard apartments in September. We were the first people to live there. In fact, I'm not even sure the hot water worked at that point exactly. And that was a really important decision. And I think when we moved in, Lolly was the youngest person we ever found. I mean, in conversation with others, youngest person to live here at that point. Didn't last too long because somebody we could identify was a little bit younger, but we moved, early on. And what I must say is, we've never looked back. It's been as good a decision, an important decision we've ever made. And as I'm standing before you today, it was a really good decision. And the reason is because this is a really good place to be. So that's my personal history. And let me go to that first point about the institutional nature of our mission. I mean, Westminster Canterbury began, we're 46 years in on our history, and we began as a mission of the Presbyterian Episcopal Churches. And I think about the people, Holt Souder, Ed Givens, Tom Rice, Gardner von Skoyak, Harry Fraser. These were people who were deeply committed Christian people who wanted to provide a place where people who didn't necessarily have all the financial wherewithal to have health care at home, and where they could be in an environment and find the support that they needed to grow old with respect and dignity. And that's where it began. It began really as a mission of the church. Deeply committed Christian people starting Westminster Canterbury. And one of the really important values as healthcare gets more complicated and there are more different dimensions to it and everything, I think one of the things that has made Westminster Canterbury really special is being faithful to that mission that was conceived by the people who created this place. And it's really important not to get disconnected, from that. Now, the biggest program that continues and illustrates that mission is the Fellowship Fund. The Fellowship Fund. The fact that when we're strong, we had 110 of our 800 and almost 900 residents on some sort of fellowship. And those are people who added a tremendous amount to the spirit of this place. They're some of our best volunteers. The shops on Main Street, the shops on Main Street are operating, is just full of Fellowship Fund volunteers. And of course, nobody knows who's on the Fellowship Fund because we protect their identity. So unless they tell you that they're on support. But people are grateful, so it's a sense of gratitude that adds a dimension to this place that we all benefit from. So the mission of the church, one of the other important aspects of Westminster Canterbury as church mission is the fact that pastoral care is a really important dimension around here. And one of the aspects of it that I particularly salute is the fact that Lynn McClintock, who's head of pastoral care, our head chaplain, that she has a place at the table with the top administrators making decisions for the policies of this place. Now, the people around the table, John Burns and the other people, they have responsibility for finance, for dining, for health care. They all have sort of line responsibilities. Lynn's responsibility is to walk around, talk to people, and get a sense of what the spirit of the place is. So to those discussions about all the kind of policy shaping and everything like that, she's the person who's reflecting for that group of people what the Spirit is doing around here, what she perceives. Is the community anxious? What are people upset about? all of this and beginning to factor all that in. Not to mention being a pastor to the top leaders, who are under all kinds of stress and strain just doing their work as Westminster Canterbury. Now, what's happened with values like this in places that began as missions of the church, as healthcare has become increasingly complicated, and places like Westminster Canterbury are caught up in all of the vicissitudes of healthcare delivery and everything, they lose contact with their roots. And what happens with pastoral care, for instance, is pastoral care becomes simply, an add-on, rather than something that's at the heart of who we are. It becomes something that's kind of contracted with, and people come in, or the churches come in and just take care of their own. It doesn't impact the center mission of the place. It's not true here. Pastoral care is really important. They do a really good job, and it goes way, way beyond just the services that are offered or the individual pastoral care. They're in touch with the spirit of this place, reflecting on it, praying for it, helping Westminster Canterbury go forward. Now, Lolly and I moved in 2005, and there was a real question whether, with the courtyard apartments being built, whether Westminster Canterbury could hang together as an institution. You had the Tower group, over here who'd been here, had established their ways, were more in touch with this sense of church mission and all of that. And now you're creating the Homes on the Green, the courtyard apartments. And of course, financially, it costs a whole lot more money to live on this east side of the campus than it did in the Tower. And there was a lot of fear and worry that these two parts of the community wouldn't come together. And wouldn't that be, a tragedy? And there were different perspectives about things, and attitudes. But the point was, a lot of effort and a lot of work was expended on the part of lots of people to bring the community together so that those values would be entwined, and there would be a kind of central, a kind of unity of spirit in the place. And one of the fears was something like the Fellowship Fund. These people who are coming, who have more money and everything, would be less interested in trying to preserve a mission and have people here who couldn't afford, to be here. But actually what happened in the good work that was done was the Fellowship Fund expanded exponentially as a result, of the expansion, that people got that sense of the spirit and what the mission of the place was about, and were willing to give generously to keep that program going. So it's always a work in progress. So people were able to tell the story and bring other people on board, and that program goes forward. Now, as an institution, we're expanding again. And when all is said and done, we'll be a community of 1,100 plus people. And the question is, it's going to take a lot of effort to keep these values that have sustained us to this point alive when we bring new people who have no history, no background, who have different kind of expectations, who in many ways are a different generation, trying to bring them on board. So the work of community, to build community, is an ongoing, ever-present, important piece of work that we need to do. And it seems to me that what hangs in the balance, every day, for each of us, do we focus on our own needs and what we need and all of that, or do we focus on the life of the community and what we can give to it? And I think it has to do with the sense and our origin as church mission that so far we've been able to keep that sense of community spirit alive, that we are a community. and hopefully we'll be able to instill those values the new folks who move in. But it's a work in progress, and we need to affirm our history and then look forward to a future that will bring others into that sense of vision. So that's the institutional piece. Now let me move to the Westminster Canterbury's mission to each one of us. The mission of Westminster Canterbury to each of us personally is to help us die well. And again, there are resources to do that. One of the things about Westminster Canterbury, the staff here, and this is kind of all levels, they have a lot of experience helping people die. And I really trust that, all that experience. But the thing that I really have confidence in at another level is basically our Christian context, our Christian background for viewing life. And it's important. And these are cultural values. I don't think these are narrow Christian values, but they're underscored by our background and connection to the church. And let me say a couple of personal things for me. One of them is the view that life's a gift. Life's a gift from God. And we have the opportunity to experience life and make decisions about it. And at the end, we have to give the gift back to God. So that sense of the giftedness of life and how we can be better stewards of this gift, and then to give it back, to release it, that we don't control what happens to us. We eventually surrender the gift back to our Creator. That's one piece of my Christian view. The other one would be the whole concept of death and resurrection, that there is life in the world to come. That God raised Jesus from the dead, and Jesus was the first fruits of what we inherit. Now, whether you're a Christian or not, and this is the best of our mission too, that we're open to all faiths. We're not Christian in a narrow sense, but it creates a background of hope, a hope for each one of us. Each new day, there's hope. It's a new opportunity. There are chances that we can take advantage of. One of the again, being connected to our Christian roots, is All Saints Sunday. We celebrate All Saints Sunday here, and that's the first Sunday of November. And one of the things that happens on All Saints Sunday is at Westminster Canterbury, we remember all the people, residents and staff, who've died during the last year. And they do it in a really lovely way. There's a ceremony in the afternoon, and they have pictures. Pastoral Care works really hard. They have pictures of everybody who's died during the year. And we lose 10% of our community every year. And sitting there in those All Saints services, as I'm looking, at the pictures, really, it's just in a sense, it's sort of overwhelming. These are all people who've contributed to the vitality, to the life, of this place. And they're not with us now. and we celebrate them in the context of their going to glory. But so many people come and contribute what they have, are part of this community, and then they go on. And it's important to celebrate every life and lift up that life and be thankful for that life. And so sitting there at those All Saints services, I'm reflecting as I look at the pictures that are flashed up there on each individual person. There are many of them I don't know, but there are many of them that I had a personal relationship with or knew something or something special happened. And it's a very, very important spirit moment to be able to be there and to look at all those pictures. Now, one of the things that's happening for me now is I'm learning a lot about the process of dying from my wife. Lolly's been in healthcare for since 2016. And we came because she had multiple sclerosis, and that's certainly taken its toll. And then in more recent times, she's developed severe dementia, and she's in the second floor of healthcare. One of the things that has happened during the pandemic was she's lost her ability to feed herself. So basically, she can't do anything for herself now. But her spirit's good, and she's on a plateau. And I try to spend an hour with her before lunch, 11 to 12 hour, and then between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. And she's just getting terrific. She's bonded so well with her healthcare folks, and she's not anxious at all. She's rolling with the punches. As I said, her spirit's good. One of the things that I work on with her, we go out and count the ducks in the afternoon so often. We'll probably do that a little later this afternoon. But we have a little bit of a game that we play. I'm doing her upper body stretches. I'll work with her arms and her hands. We do. This little piggy went to market. This little piggy stayed home. And then we'll have a right hand shake, and I'll try to look her in the eye and engage her. So, hello, Lolly, and she'll say, I speak for, hi, Bob. And then we shake hands and do that. And then we have this ritual. After a little period of shaking, I'll try to escape from her grip. And some days she's never going to let me go. She can't talk to me. She can't communicate a thought. But I know when she starts hanging on tight, I see a big smile on her face. That, you're not done with me yet. You got to hang on here. And so we have this game of working to see if I can escape. And sometimes I can be shaking her hand for as much as 5 minutes before she'll let go, or I can escape from it. But to see her light up, to see her smile, to be engaged with her, it's not. That's a good day, when she can bring me joy and I can bring her some joy. One of the things in my relationship with Lolly now is I'm not quite sure what to pray for. And one area of prayer is to pray that God will give some of her health back. And I'll get to see some of the old Lolly. And that's one of my prayers. And then on the other side, I have a prayer that, God, maybe it's time to call Lolly home, because the quality of her life has been so diminished. But where I actually come down on it is the prayer, say, Lord, just make today a good day, for Lolly and me. Help me to bring some joy to her life today. Help me to be present with her. And this day, this is what we've got, and it's enough. So that's really my bottom line prayer as I think about what I'm learning from her, that we have this moment, that when I leave this place and I take her to go see the ducks and we work on our body stretching and I try to escape from her grip, we have today. We have today. And I'm grateful for that. So, Westminster Canterbury will always be a work in progress. We need to lean in. It's not going to happen. All the positive things that we have here are not going to happen if we sit on the sidelines. I mean, each of us has a role to play to build that sense of community. And also, each of us has a role supporting each other in this dying process so that we can die well. Let me remind you of the 11 last words as you're getting close to final conversations, because dying is always messy and incomplete. But the 11 last words are, please forgive me. I forgive you. Thank you. I love you. You may never get an opportunity to say that to somebody that you know well, or somebody that you love, somebody who's been really important in your life. But it's good to have them in the back of your mind, because that's one of those little small touches that helps the dying process go well if you happen to have the opportunity. So I'll come back to the point that we're lucky to live here. God's Spirit is active in this place and in each one of us. It's a work in progress because it's always changing, new people coming, people dying. So it takes each one of us to make the effort to build the institution and then to be the best companions we can be to each other as we move toward our final days. So, Ann, thank you for inviting me to do this. This is my spirit response to your invitation. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. Wow, that's certainly a lot to think about and process, and definitely came from a place of heart. Don't know if any of you all have any questions. It could have to do with something that was touched on just now, or maybe something that you know that wasn't touched on. But if you have a question, I would be happy to bring the mic to you.
I'd like to know where you were born and where you grew up and how you got to be a minister.
Oh, my. Well, I was born in Buffalo, New York, and my father was in the airline business, and so we moved around and stuff. So I don't really have one place that I'd call home, which is probably, in part, it's not like there's a home place. So when I made the decision of retirement, where to go, it seemed to make sense to be here. It's interesting how those factors in your background, kind of bring you to whatever point in the decision-making process when you've got something important to decide. Well, ministry's a work in progress. What I'd say actually is I have a lot of experience as an ordained Episcopal priest. But I'd say, and I've served churches and been involved, obviously, in full-time ministry for a long period of time. And now, in my retirement, living here, I've helped out in a whole bunch of Episcopal churches in Richmond. And they're all so different. It's just been fun to do that and just help out. But there's been a tremendous ministry right here. In terms of building relationships, with people and being around. And what I'd say is, well, in one sense, I've been retired from full-time parish work for 15 years now. This has been as rich a time in ministry, for me, as any other period. So today's a good day. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
Bob, I know tennis has been a big part of your life, and I want to know how your spirit has been affected by the game of tennis.
Well, there are a lot of dimensions to that issue as well. I think the main one I would offer right now is that it's been crucial, for my mental health and my spiritual health. One of the things that I made it a point to do when I would leave St. Paul's after Sunday morning worship, what happens when your pastor is all the stuff that's going on in people's lives, you hear about it on Sunday morning. And so it's all rattling around, in there. So what in the world am I going to do about this? If somebody's dying, I got to go here. Now, how am I going to be in 4 places at the same time? The first thing I would do is I either went to the squash court or the tennis court from Sunday morning. I didn't have any lunch. I just went there, and I would concentrate on beating the daylights out of my opponent. Sometimes I'd be have the daylights beaten out of me too. But the point is the total shift and the exercise and all of that was so important to me. So when I got done and went and had a shower, this whole agenda that was making me wonder, what the heck do I do now? And I was anxious about it. It had moved. It had settled. And I could say, that's the first thing I have to do. That's the next thing. That's the third thing. So that was the gift of that.
All right. Getting my steps in.
Which is a reminder that we all have to get exercise. So keep walking, keep stretching, keep doing your stuff.
Dr. Hetherington, good afternoon. I stopped by just to share with you the respect that I have for you as a man of God, as a husband committed to the care of your wife, to your commitment inside Westminster Canterbury community and the outside community, your work with everyone from inmates to the underprivileged. I have great respect when I'm on the treadmill, your diligence in keeping fit and making me know I got to go a little better, and just living by one of your mottos to always finish strong. Just wanted to make sure you knew the impact that you have, that when you think no one's watching, they're watching. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Veronica Merriman, and I'm assistant manager in the housekeeping department.
Thank you, Veronica.
Okay, I don't see any other hands, and that was a wonderful note to end on for sure, and I think many of us echo the very same thing, so thank you. And we will now turn it over to Anne to tell us about the next one, but how about another round of applause?
Thank you so much, Bob. I think we know more about Bob now more about this place, and very possibly more about ourselves than we did an hour ago. Thank you, Bob. On October 20th, the next Who Knew will be Lucy Lee Cruz. She'll talk to us about growing up on the river, her family's schooling and working years, her summer in Alaska, which I know lots of you have been asking her about. And then I love how she's expressed that, coming together with glass, quilts, and flowers at Westminster Canterbury. That's October 20th. Watch for it.